Billionaire witnesses humble Maid defends sick mom at 3 a.m. Shocking truth revealed. It was a night like no other. The kind that changes lives, the whispers of wealth and power riding on the cool breeze. At 3 a.m. under the flickering streetlights of Crestview Road, a figure emerged from the shadows driven by desperation. Maria, a humble maid, her work clothes torn and stained, sprinted toward a shimmering mansion where fortunes resided. Her heart raced with urgency, every beat echoing the silent plea for help from her sick mother, alone and suffering in their cramped apartment. But tonight wasn't just any night. The air crackled with tension as two billionaires, known for their ruthless competition, graced the mansion with their presence. They had everything, yet they lingered, overlooking their sprawling empire from atop their gilded thrones. But now, curiosity piqued by Maria's frantic cries, they stepped outside to witness a drama unfold, one that seemed destined for the silver screen. Maria's breath came in short gasps as she faced the imposing gates. The moonlight glinted off the billionaire's sleek cars, a stark reminder of the wealth dividing them. "Help me!" she cried, her voice choked with pain. Suddenly, the walls of arrogance began to crack. One billionaire glanced at the other, disbelief painted across his sharp features. How could someone so lowly dare to challenge such power? As the tension stretched, another unusual fact colored the scene. A mysterious onlooker, cloaked in a long dark coat, stood outside the gates, observing with an unsettling intensity. No one knew whether they were an ally or a threat, making the air thicker with unease. Maria felt the weight of several curious gazes, the billionaire's imperiousness clashing against her raw need. Her mother's whimpers echoed in her mind, driving her to push through the fear. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Suddenly, the silence shattered. A sharp gasp from the crowd as Maria's fervor ignited. "I'll do anything. Please," she pleaded, voice trembling. The mansion loomed behind her, its opulence a backdrop to her desperation. Would these powerful men step down from their ivory towers to help her? Or would they simply watch her fate unravel like a cruel game? The unknown onlooker shifted as if sensing the critical moment, and Maria felt a chill run down her spine. In that instant, a decision hung in the air. Thick with anticipation, could mercy break through the barriers of privilege? The crowd held its breath, the question lingering like a suspenseful drumroll, begging for resolution, as Maria's fate dangled on the edge of the night. "Are you serious?" One billionaire scoffed, disbelief tight in his voice as he surveyed Maria. The other, a more somber man with kind, tired eyes, stepped forward, a flicker of empathy hinting at his expression. "Tell us what's wrong," he demanded, the weight of his authority hanging in the air. Maria felt the possibility blooming in her chest but was also painfully aware of the razor-thin line between hope and despair. "My mother, she's sick. I can't afford the medicine. I don't know what to do." Her voice cracked, raw desperation spilling forth like water from a shattered dam. The crowd shifted. Whispers danced around, uncertainty drumming through the onlookers. They'd come to see a spectacle, not to address the cries of a woman who lived a world away from their gilded lives. The billionaire with the softer demeanor stepped closer, eyes locked on Maria's desperate face. "How much do you need?" She hesitated, the weight of her answer threatening to crush her. $200 for the medicine." A scoff was heard from the other billionaire, his features contorted with disdain. "You think throwing money at a problem makes it go away? There's nothing for you here." But then the cloaked figure at the edge of the crowd stepped into the light, revealing a sharp, calculating face. "No, wait." They stepped toward Maria, eyes gleaming. "How do you know this isn't a trap? We're all in the spotlight here." Maria froze, confusion swirling within her. "A trap? I'm not here to deceive. I just want to save my mother." The crowd drew back, a collective gasp floating through the air as the onlooker continued. "What if someone is always watching? What if this moment is a part of something much bigger?" The billionaires exchanged glances, unease seeping into their expressions. The one who attempted to empathize cleared his throat, the tension in the air burning hotter. "Look, we can help you, but if there's a chance this is part of some scheme enough," Maria shouted, exhaustion and fear morphing her volume. "My life is in a game." The tension thickened, an almost tangible weight hanging around them. An uneasy silence wrapped around the scene, everyone paralyzed, caught in the balance between anguish and opportunity. Caution tugged at the billionaires while Maria's entire world teetered dangerously close to collapse. Just then, the cloaked figure laughed lightly, almost mockingly. "What if I told you that helping her could change everything? Even for you?" The softer billionaire's brow furrowed, wary but intrigued, while the other scoffed again. "We'd be fools to take advice from a stranger hiding in the shadows." But Maria stood motionless, glancing between the men and the enigmatic stranger. Her heart thudded in her chest, drumming out a desperate rhythm for help. She dared not overlook what hung in the air: an opportunity. "Help me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Please just help me." And that's when silence fell like an anvil, waiting for the impactful decision that could alter the course of several lives. A choice about power, privilege, and humanity teetered on a knife's edge. Would someone break through the barriers? Could a change unfold in such a world? As the billionaires deliberated, Maria's heart raced against the fear of what would come next. The onlooker's gaze pierced Maria, an unsettling vibration of energy radiating between them. What was this moment really about? Every eye now turned toward the billionaires, leaving Maria's fate tangled in the delicate threads of tinsel hope and unyielding uncertainty. The darkness of the night cloaked them, shadows growing longer around the scene, blending the lines of reality and hidden motivations. And in that uncertain grasp of fate, a twisted silence fell, leaving only one question to hang in the air. What would they decide? The moment hung in the air, thick and electric. Maria's heart raced, the pulse in her throat pounding with each passing second. She peered at the billionaires, their expressions shifting. One remained guarded. The other seemed to wrestle internally with the weight of her plea. "What's your name again?" the kinder billionaire asked, his voice softer now, almost in a whisper, as if he feared the crowd would shatter the fragile hope holding them all together. "Maria." "Just Maria," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper, but it carried the burden of a lifetime. "I don't know what else to do." The cloaked figure hovered uncertainly, as if aware of the fragile thread binding the moment together. "What if this is more than just money? What if it's a chance to reveal who you are? The world isn't made for those who pretend to be less." "Stop," the stern billionaire interjected, his face tightening. "We don't know who you are or what this is about. You talk like you have all the answers, but what's your agenda?" "Maybe I just want to see the truth unveiled," the cloaked figure replied smoothly, a vague smile tracing their lips. "How can we trust you?" Maria burst out, fear mingling with her desperation. "I need help, not riddles." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, and they shifted, uncertainty mirroring Maria's turmoil. Some looked on with pity, others with skepticism. A few even pulled out their phones, capturing the moment as if it were mere entertainment, a show for their social media platforms. "Enough of this charade," the more cynical billionaire said, brushing off the tension with a flick of his hand. "Just give her the money and let us move on. We'll show our faces, do our duty, and walk away. This isn't a charity event." "No," Maria yelled, fury igniting within her. "I want to be a tool to ease your guilt. This is my life." With every word, anger propelled her forward, igniting the frightened whispers into a roar. "I'm not here to be saved by a handout. I'm here to fight for my mother." The crowd gasped, their focus now shifting toward the cloaked figure, who appeared to be taking notes, assessing reactions like a predator watching prey. What game were they playing? "I'd say we have a chance to make history right here," the cloaked figure said, voice low but steady. "Not just for you, Maria, but for everyone watching." What if they trailed off, letting the weight of their words crush down around them like an oppressive fog? The tension brewed, thick and hot, enveloping the audience in an uncomfortable stillness. The kinder billionaire stepped forward again, brow furrowing in contemplation. "You're saying there's a chance to reshape this moment? To expose something bigger? What do you mean?" "Help her, no strings attached," the cloaked figure replied with a casual flick of their wrist. "This isn't just about her. It's about every person silenced by their circumstances. If you just hand over the cash, you'll be doing the bare minimum, but if you listen, if you open your heart, Maria's heart pounded. Could this truly shift something in the world filled with so much indifference? A split second hung in the silence, then Maria stepped closer to the billionaires. Help me. Be more than the wealth you hide behind. This could be a moment that changes everything. The crowd stirred, some nodding in agreement, others casting doubtful glances at the billionaires. Maria felt a surge of energy as though she could almost grasp the strings of fate herself. But in the distance, lights flickered in the shadows, and the ground beneath them trembled slightly. It was a reminder that time was fleeting. What if we say yes? The Kinder billionaire finally breathed, uncertainty lacing the question. But what if we don't? What lies will we unearth? Before anyone could answer, the cloaked figure added with a smile that didn't reach their eyes. Then we'll witness your true selves. As tension crackled in the air, the crowd leaned forward, anticipation sparking like wildfire. All eyes turned to see what would unfold next, a choice that could shatter the status quo. But would they embrace their humanity? Or would they turn back, leaving Maria and her mother at the mercy of their indifference? The stakes were higher than ever, and just as it seemed an answer was forming, a scream pierced the night, sending a shiver through the crowd. It wasn't over yet. What lay ahead? The scream echoed like a thunderclap, splintering the taut intensity in the air. Maria whirled around, her heart pounding like a fist against her chest. A figure emerged from the shadows, disheveled and frantic, pushing through the crowd with desperation in their eyes. "Mama!" The voice cut through the night, raw and trembling. It was Maria's younger brother, a boy of barely 14, his cheeks streaked with tears. Panic flooded Maria's veins. "Miguel!" She tore through the throng, her focus narrowing, her every instinct urging her to reach him. Time felt malleable, stretching and compressing in bewildering ways as she moved. She felt the crowd part around her, their expressions morphing from curiosity to horror. The billionaires' faces, once engaged, were now drawn tight with concern as they exchanged glances, the weight of the moment forcing their bravado to flicker. "Mama," Miguel stammered, barely able to get the words out. His voice cracked under the pressure, trembling with fear. What happened? Maria knelt down, gripping his shoulders, searching his eyes for answers. She collapsed. "I tried to wake her, but she needs you." His voice broke, panicking into tears as he buried his face in her shoulder. The world around them blurred into a haze of sounds, whispers of the crowd rising and crashing like waves. The Kinder billionaire stepped forward, the fierce lines of concern on his face making him seem, for once, human rather than untouchable. "What can we do? How can we help?" With a flash of anger, Maria pulled away from Miguel to give him a fierce look. "Do you really care? Or is this just for show?" A split second of silence held them all captive, a palpable tension riling the air. The cloaked figure, watching from the sidelines, smirked, their eyes glinting with a mix of amusement and appraisal. "Satisfaction lies in actions, not words," they said softly, their voice slipping through the crowd like a cool breeze. "What you choose to do in this moment is what will mark your legacy. Will it be genuine or just another facade?" The harsh truth hit Maria harder than she expected. They were right. In life, for every person seeking aid, there was always someone willing to measure their compassion against the weight of their own ego. "If you care, help us get to her," Maria shouted, desperation swallowing her fear. "What do you need?" The Kinder billionaire pressed, urgency creeping into his tone. "Call an ambulance." "Get her here," Maria said, the fire of resolve lighting her voice. "She's all I have." The atmosphere shifted, a collective awareness awakening among the witnesses. The billionaires snapped into action, one rushing to a corner to find his phone while the other beckoned towards the staff nearby, barking orders like a general mobilizing troops. As cell reception crackled into life, whispers rippled through the crowd. Some were supportive, murmuring encouragement while others exchanged skeptical glances. But Maria didn't care. She was fiercely focused, her brother at her side, both of them anchored in urgency. Suddenly, the cloaked figure spoke again, their voice cutting through the whirlwind. "Maria, do you see? This moment is unfolding. Will you seize it?" "What do you mean?" She shot back, frustration mounting, both frantic and defensive. But the figure merely smiled, tilting their head. a perfectly calculated gesture that left her feeling exposed. Your fight is bigger than your mother. It lays the groundwork for what's to come. You're coming with me, she half yelled, half demanded, ripping her gaze away from the cloaked figure, her focus back on her brother. They were seconds away from crossing a threshold that could ignite change. Shifting tensions stirred the crowd, some now pointing at the billionaires, disgust mingling with admiration. An unsettling fusion of disdain and hope flickered through the atmosphere. Now was the moment when the barriers of wealth, power, and empathy would collide. But just as the call connected, a second scream exploded from another part of the crowd. This time it was not just Maria's heart that froze. All eyes turned toward the clamoring chaos, dread settling over them like a weight as they braced for what was to come. What other secrets lay hidden in the depths of this night? Would the world witness a second reality unravel? The second scream shattered the fragile tension like glass, sending ripples of alarm through the night. Maria's heart raced, a pulse of raw panic throbbing in her throat. She turned, eyes darting around the crowd, searching for the source. Bodies shifted uneasily, shadows collided, fear etched on every face. Miguel clutched her arm, clearly terrified. What is happening? I don't know, she replied, the tremor in her voice betraying her. Every instinct urged her to shift her focus back to their mother, but the sound of anxiety rising like a tidal wave in the crowd was impossible to ignore as whispers grew louder. One voice emerged, high and frantic. Help! Someone please! It cut through the chaos, leading Maria through the mass of people who were now like statues, frozen in shock and speculation. Then she saw it, a woman, writhing on the ground, clutching her chest, gasping as if the air had turned to lead. A small group gathered around her, their faces blurring into silhouettes. Move! Give her space! Maria demanded, adrenaline kicking in. She didn't hesitate, pushing her way through the throng with an urgency fueled by both fear and an emerging clarity. Who is she? Miguel asked, his voice trembling. Just keep moving, Maria shouted back, barely registering her brother's growing panic. As she reached the front, she knelt beside the suffering woman, instinctively checking for a pulse. She wasn't prepared for the green eyes that met hers, wide, terrified, full of anguish. Maria recognized her as one of the temporary staff at the event, a face she had exchanged smiles with rather than names. Help her, please, someone cried out. The billionaires hovered at the edges, their previous bravado faltering as they grappled with this unexpected turn of events. Maria caught the kinder billionaire's eye, the one who had stepped forward earlier. He appeared paralyzed, surveying the unfolding horror as if it were a devastating spectacle rather than a call to action. Do something, Maria shouted, losing her patience. He shook off his stupor and grabbed a silver-haired man who had been standing aloof. Call an ambulance now, he ordered, his voice cutting through the air with authority. The urgency between Maria and the crowd surged. They were witnesses to pain, each person battling their own moral compass. Would they rise to the occasion? Or would their wealth keep them shackled in fear? The cloaked figure loomed nearby, observing intently, a smirk back on their face. Is this where you draw the line, Maria? Will you step into your destiny or stand aside? Their voice wrapped around Maria, both a challenge and a taunt. Shut up, she snapped, fury igniting within her as she turned to the billionaires. You all have power. Use it. As the first sirens echoed in the distance, the crowd shuffled awkwardly, their hope colliding with the reality of the situation. The atmosphere was thick with an unsettling blend of grandeur and despair. Suddenly, one of the staff crouched beside the woman, pulling her hands away to reveal an old medallion, a glimmer of gold interrupted by the chaos. Maria's breath caught. Is that what I think it is? She whispered, drawn to the relic buried beneath the dirt. The medallion's sheen caught the light, and a collective gasp rippled around her. It was not merely symbolic. It bore the mark of one of the wealthiest families in the city, rumored to possess connections that reached far beyond mere fortune. Fear mingled with intrigue as the implications set in. What did this signify? As the paramedics arrived, sliding through the crowd, Maria felt a wave of determination wash over her. This was more than just a moment of crisis. It was a catalyst screaming for attention. The cloaked figure stepped closer, their gaze locking onto Maria's, awaiting her next move. Would she dare to grasp the truth buried among these flashes of wealth and desperation? The sirens blared louder, pulling the crowd's focus, yet all Maria could do was stare down at the medallion, pulse racing, wondering what other secrets the night held. The air crackled with tension as the paramedics swept in, whirling sirens fading into an afterthought, overtaken by the chaos surrounding the woman on the ground. As the medics took over, Maria felt the ground beneath her shift, the weight of the moment pulsing through her, igniting a fire that had long been dormant inside her. "Stay back. Give her room," one of the medics shouted, his commanding voice slicing through the crowd. Maria felt the hands of onlookers tighten on her arm, a mix of concern and fear radiating from them. She could see the woman's face still contorted with pain, her breath shallow and desperate. The cloaked figure, always lurking at the edge, seemed to draw closer, eyes glimmering with something that felt dangerously close to delight. "While they waste their time, aren't you curious about the real shadow lurking here?" Their voice slithered into her thoughts, taunting her. But she pushed it away. There was no time for games. Maria's gaze shifted back to the medallion, still partly buried as if it held answers to unspeakable questions. A hint of something familiar flickered in her memory, a story her mother told her long ago, etched in the intricacies of their family history. Something about power, corruption, and how easily lives could twist under its weight. "Look," Miguel shouted, pointing at the medallion, a mixture of anxiety and recognition written on his face. It was as if the symbol of a dangerous legacy could pull them into a world they weren't prepared for. "What if it belongs to them?" "It does," she replied, hardly believing her own words. Suddenly, the billionaires, previously paralyzed with inaction, were whispering among themselves, eyes darting from Maria to the medallion. Their faces, once full of haughty detachment, now subtly transformed with threads of concern and curiosity. The kinder billionaire stepped forward, his brow furrowed as he exchanged murmurs with a tall, sharp-faced woman beside him, who looked almost regal. "This could implicate us," he insisted, glancing at the medallion, then diverting his eyes quickly to the scene unfolding. "No one can know." "Shut up." Maria's voice cut through the strange assembly. "This isn't about you. This is about her life." She caught the fire in the eyes of those gathered, a flicker of humanity billowing through the fog of privilege, mixing with the sounds of the night. They were trapped in a moment where they had to decide who they truly were. Suddenly, another scream erupted, piercing through the air again, this time from a different direction. Panic rippled through the crowd. "They're coming!" a voice shouted. The fear expanded like a cancer, sparking the already frayed nerves into chaos. "Who?" Maria yelled back, feeling a constriction in her chest, each beat of her heart thudding like a drum. "Look," pointed another guest, their finger trembling. And then shadows emerged from the trees lining the edge of the venue. Figures cloaked in darkness moved swiftly, their intentions cloaked as kindly as their bodies. Maria's mind raced. Was this part of the plan? Were they here to reclaim the medallion? To silence those who knew too much? As fear clawed at her gut and adrenaline surged, she felt Miguel squeeze her hand tight beside her. "What are we going to do?" he whispered, his voice barely audible over the rising clamor. Without thinking, Maria clenched her jaw, feeling the weight of the medallion's gold against her skin. It was now or never. She'd either back down and let the darkness swallow them whole, or stand her ground for the woman on the ground, for her family, for the truth hidden away. "Take her," she insisted to the medics. "I'll protect her." The cloaked figure stepped back, surprised by her defiance. Their gaze pierced into her, demanding an answer that only she could provide. The tension thickened, shadows closing in around them, waiting to see who would falter first. And that moment, a choice hung in the air. Would Maria muster the bravery needed to confront the encroaching darkness, or would she find herself devoured by the very shadows that had watched this night unfold? It felt like everything was about to change as the figures advanced. Maria stood her ground, resolve hardening within her. Would she confront the truth they all feared? Or would she succumb to the legacy of silence? With the first person stepping from the shadows revealing a familiar face, Maria's heart stopped. Could it be? The night held secrets more dangerous than she ever anticipated. The figure emerging from the shadows was unmistakable. David, her older brother, lost to her for years, standing just feet away, under the dim light that flickered like her thinning hope. Maria's heart raced, caught between disbelief and an urgency ignited by the chaotic scene around them. David! She gasped, the sound escaping her lips like a breath she didn't know she had been holding. The pleading in her tone sliced through the thrumming anxiety rippling around them. Her brother's face was ashen, eyes wide, darting between her and the cloaked figures, a mere second away from panic. "Maria, you shouldn't be here," he shouted, rushing forward, desperation pinching his features. "They'll hurt you." The shadows surrounding them paused, sensing the shift. Maria's spine tingled, the air thickening with the weight of unspoken danger. "What do you know?" she implored, shaking her head in disbelief. "Why are they here? What do they want?" "Not here," David hissed, glancing nervously at the figures hovering just outside the light. "It's too late for them. We need to get you out." "Not without her." Maria's voice rang with defiance, eyes locking back on the woman on the ground, still gasping for breath amid the medic's frantic attempts to stabilize her. The gravity of the moment pressed on her chest like an iron weight, drawing her focus. But David stepped in front of her, shielding her from the creeping shadows. "You don't know what they're capable of. They'll do anything to keep their secrets safe." Maria couldn't waver, not now. The medallion pinned against her heart pulsed as if alive, pulling her forward. She had to understand its connection to everything. Her family, her brother, this night. "What about the medallion?" she pressed, urgency flowing through her words. "It's connected to all of this, isn't it?" David hesitated, the blood draining from his face. "I shouldn't have gotten involved. They'll come after us both if you hold on to it." The figure in the cloak shifted, as if caught in their own web of suppressed violence. Furtive whispers interrupted the hum of chaos. "We mustn't engage," one of the shadowy figures urged. "The longer we stay, the more they'll find out." "Leave her," Maria cried, pushing against David's guard. "If I give the medallion back, will that save her?" The cloaked figure stepped forward, ambiguity cloaking their intentions like a shroud. "You don't know the power you're toying with, girl. Return it, and peace may return to your little world." In that moment the world went silent. All eyes bore into her, including the billionaires, who appeared frozen between fear and greed. Maria felt the heavy gold cool against her skin, a tangible symbol of the peril they all faced. She clenched it tighter, igniting a fire of defiance deep inside her. "Why should I trust you? You've been hunting us." She could hear the tremor in her own voice, yet let it rise, letting the crowded air vibrate with her fury. "You care more about secrets than lives." Another scream tore through the night, echoing like a gunshot, the sudden return of panic fracturing the spell the night had cast. Shadows began to move again, monsters confronting light. Amid the panic, Maria felt a new sense of clarity wash over her. In that moment, she realized it wasn't just her life at stake. It was the life of the woman, her brother's safety, and perhaps something far greater than any of them ever imagined. "Run," David urged, pulling her close, but she stood still. This wasn't just about her anymore. "Maybe they've found their prey, but not if I can help it," Maria shouted defiantly. Suddenly, a loud crack split the night, the sound of an explosion from the adjoining forest. Flames burst from the trees, igniting arcs of light that flickered dangerously close. The shadows turned in confusion, a collective gasp escaping from the crowd, and in that exact moment, Maria saw opportunity. All chaos erupted anew. Everyone scattered, the shadows now retreating. The billionaires initially frozen now shoving each other to escape. "Get out!" she yelled, recalling the fire within her. "We can't let them snatch this from us." The figures hesitated at the edge of the flames, revealing more than just cowardice. With slim hope clenched in her fist, Maria took one last look at her brother. "We have to move now." But amidst the confusion, David's eyes darkened with knowledge, both tragic and revealing. "You don't know who you're up against," he warned, tension hanging between them. Then, shadows melted into the encroaching darkness as figures loomed, and new threats emerged behind the flames. A line was drawn, but which side would Maria choose when the truth came crashing down? As the heat of the moment warred against her resolve, Maria felt fear and resolve collide. The night was far from over. Both darkness and illumination roared for her next move. Would she uncover the truth her brother feared? Or would the shadows engulf her completely? The fire crackled and roared, illuminating faces stretched in terror. Maria felt the heat wash over her. the warmth pushing back against the cold grasp of fear around her heart. David's grip tightened on her wrist, pulling her toward safety, but she resisted. "No, we have to help her," Maria yelled, pointing toward the woman on the ground, choking on her own survival. The medics were scrambling, their desperate calls lost in the chaos. "Stay calm," David shouted, scanning the crowd, his face a mask of dread. "We can't." A sudden rush of wind cut him off, and darkness swept through the clearing as if summoned. The cloaked figures seemed to melt into the shadows. Their eyes glinted like ominous stars, betraying souls crossed with dread. "Maria!" David's voice cracked, laced with urgency. "We need to go now." But the medallion pulsed, a heartbeat against her skin. It reminded her of everything she fought for: the woman, her mother, the life she wanted to reclaim. Those shadows weren't just villains. They held secrets she needed to unravel. "The medallion," Maria shouted back, determination sharpening her voice. "It's the key. Listen to me." David's voice rose above the chaos. "You're playing with fire. If you think they'll spare you because of a trinket, you're wrong." "No," she shot back, her resolve crystallizing. "We're not letting her die. Not like this." Her heart raced as she turned towards the woman. "Hang on. Just hold on." The air quaked with possibility and danger. One of the shadowy figures stepped forward, wreathing itself in smoke. "That artifact binds you far deeper than you comprehend. It will ruin you." "Shut up," Maria shouted, eyes smoldering with defiance. "She's not a pawn in your game." Suddenly an explosion rocked the ground, sending her stumbling. David caught her, fear etched deep into his eyes as he glanced back at the shadows, who now loomed closer, their intentions menacing. "Get ready to move," he ordered, and his voice was sharp, commanding. They needed to escape, to find some kind of sanctuary amid the madness. But Maria felt the weight of the medallion's promise. "If you want it back," she called out to the cloaked figure, "you'll have to fight me for it." Laughter echoed back, dark and twisted. "You think you can wield such power? Foolish girl." David pulled her closer, his breath a whisper. "They'll come for blood, Maria, yours or theirs. We can't risk it." Yet every instinct screamed for her to stand her ground. This wasn't just about the medallion. It was about confronting the shadows that had haunted her family. It was a battle for her mother too. Around them the crowd swirled in panic. Firelight painted their faces in hues of fear and confusion. With every shriek and murmured prayer, Maria felt the fight inside her ignite. She couldn't back down. "Not now. Listen." A distant voice reached her amidst the clamor, one of the medics, having made eye contact with her. "We can save her. But you need to help us." And just like that, clarity surged within her. She had to act, to become the warrior she never dreamed she'd be. "David." She turned, locking eyes with him. "We can save her. But we have to work together." Before he could respond, another explosion rocked the forest, forcing them to shield their eyes against the onslaught of light. "Now!" David shouted as shadows appeared to shift, scrambling to reclaim their monstrous aura. Maria surged forward, pulling David along with her, adrenaline coursing through her. They charged towards the medics, the woman's labored breathing barely audible over the storm of chaos. "Keep working on her," she cried. But as they reached the woman, cloaked figures converged, darker and more desperate, hungry for lost secrets. Maria felt the sting of inevitability creeping close. They weren't just witnesses anymore. They were unwilling players in a horrific game. "Maria, look out!" David screamed. The looming shadow surged forward, and in that moment, Maria knew the darkness would not let her win without a fight. With nothing left to lose, she clutched the medallion tighter, ready to unleash its power. But would it be enough to confront the secrets haunting her family? As the clash of light and dark compelled her forward, an electrifying truth sparked within her. She was prepared to pay any price. In the heart of chaos, a chilling question hounded her thoughts: who would survive when the dust of this battle settled? Maria felt the world slow down around her, the shadows encroaching, darkness stark against the flickering light of the flames. The energy from the medallion was almost alive, thrumming insistently in her grasp, urging her deeper into this fight. The voices of the medics shouted for clarity, but they seemed distant, a broken promise amidst the chaos. "Stay behind me." David strained to keep his voice steady as he moved closer to the shadows, ready to shield her. But Maria wasn't about to let fear dictate her fate. No. I won't let you face this alone. She brushed past him, the resolve in her heart igniting a fearlessness she didn't know she held. The cloaked figures were a sea of darkness, their forms shifting like smoke. One stepped forward, its hand outstretched like a predator. The medallion belongs to you, true. But its power is a cursed, child. You stand on the edge of a precipice you cannot fathom. Not if I harness it, Maria shouted back, the truth of her words burning in her chest. She knew the stakes, the danger that loomed, but the desperation of that woman, her life hanging by a thread, pushed her past the brink. A shadow lunged at her, and she had only a moment to react. With a swift movement, she thrust the medallion towards the figure. A pulse of light erupted, illuminating the clearing in a blinding brightness that momentarily sent the shadows retreating. Gasps of awe mixed with cries of confusion erupted from the crowd, their faces caught between horror and disbelief. Now, Maria! David's voice echoed sharply. He pulled her toward the woman, who lay convulsing on the ground, desperate breaths rasping from her lips. The medic scrambled around her, restoring hope with hurried motions and anguished prayers. The darkness roared back, infuriated and relentless. They had tasted her strength, but it only spurred them on. Don't show weakness, Maria thought, her heart pounding like a war drum in her chest. There was no going back. She could feel the power of the medallion thrumming through her veins, syncing with her heartbeat. Each pulse dispelled whispers of doubt, replaced by a roaring surge of determination. Come at me, she shouted defiantly, challenging the shadows as they circled like vultures. You will not win here. One of them lunged again, claws outstretched. Maria raised the medallion, focused all her will into it, feeling the energy coalesce into a tangible force. A blinding white light exploded from the medallion, overwhelming the darkness momentarily. But it came with a cost. The force of her own power surged back at her, knocking her off her feet. Pain lanced through her body, a burning sensation spreading from her chest to her limbs. Maria! David cried out, reaching for her, but shadows swarmed between them, turbulent and hungry for retribution. She gasped, fighting the waves of dizziness. I'm okay. She managed to gasp, forcing herself to stand. She could not falter, not now. With the remaining strength, Maria focused on the woman, who lay vulnerable before them. She whispered encouragement, hold on. We are coming, we will not leave you. As if ignited by her words, the medics rallied, their hands a flurry of movements, ready to fight against the tide of darkness. The shadows hesitated, sensing the unity forming among them. In that moment, Maria understood that power does not reside solely in the artifact. It flows through connections, in love and friendship forged in the heat of battle. But the shadows were smarter than that. A growl pierced the air, and one stepped forward again, a figure that had been at the edges but now commanded authority. You think you have won? This is only the beginning. The medallion pulsed violently against her chest, as if warning her. The flickering flames around them changed, taking on a spectral hue, dancing with a new energy. Suddenly whispers erupted from the dark figure, promises of what could be fear, tragedy, loss. Maria felt her resolve shake momentarily. Don't listen, she murmured to herself. But the chilling voice pressed on, you want to save her? Then give it to me. The medallion's power will doom you if you let it. You were meant to fail, that has always been your destiny. Never. Maria shouted defiantly, her mind racing. Yet a small flicker of doubt whispered back, what if the figure was right? Before she could contemplate further, shadows surged again. They were desperate, powerful, and they wanted her. David! She screamed, gripping the medallion tightly. We need to fight together. Now. In that moment of imminent confrontation of dark fate or powerful destiny, hers wasn't the only life teetering on the edge. Would they save the woman at ground zero? Or would they all succumb to the shadows, swallowed whole into despair? The ground beneath shifted, and she realized they were running out of time. Just how deep did the shadows run? And could she truly reclaim the light from within? And beneath the turmoil of her heart, a truth pulsed. What if the answer wasn't simply fighting against darkness but understanding it? In that uncertainty, her resolve only grew stronger. But as the fire lit up the chaos, one question loomed large, hanging like a dark omen: who would emerge from the upcoming storm, and who would be lost forever? The chaos reached a fever pitch as the shadows closed in on Maria and David. Darkness rolled like thunder around them, threatening to swallow them whole. Maria's heart raced, fear battled with a sense of purpose deep within. She clutched the medallion, its pulse syncing with her heartbeat. The weight of her family's legacy felt like chains trying to pull her down, but they also felt like a fire, igniting her spirit. Together, she shouted, her voice cutting through the cacophony. David met her gaze, fear and defiance reflected in his eyes. They stood side by side, strong against the encroaching darkness. The medics, who found their footing among the chaos, shouted commands, rallying together as one. There was no turning back now. Behind them, the woman gasped for air, the medics working frantically to stabilize her. With every breath she took, Maria felt an urgency swell inside her, an unbearable need to protect every life that hung in the balance. Shadows lunged, a wave of night eager to consume the light around them, but David and Maria wouldn't budge. "Fight!" David yelled. "You have the power to change this." In a moment of clarity, Maria turned toward the pulsing shadows, the medallion glowing brighter, spilling golden energy into the darkness. "I won't let you take us," she declared, the strength in her voice reverberating like an anthem of hope. "You will not win against love and family." The shadows seemed to hiss, recoiling from her declaration. Maria took a deep breath, summoning everything she felt in that moment: the love for her mother and brother, the connection she felt with the woman on the ground, the community now rising to fight alongside her. That overwhelming emotion transformed into a brilliant light surrounding her. She lifted the medallion high above her head, channeling every ounce of will she had. A beam of light erupted from the medallion, cutting through the darkness like a knife through fog. The shadows shrieked, retreating momentarily. Hope surged through the crowd, a wave of light competing against the imposing dark. The medics seized the opportunity, working faster, their hands moving as if guided by a pulse of new energy. David was right beside her, shouting encouragement, fueling her fire. "Let it out. This is your moment." The light swirled around Maria as she envisioned clarity piercing through the fears and doubts that had shackled her family. The history she wanted to untangle, the labyrinth of dark truths held captive by the shadows, fueled her determination. "This family stands united," she shouted, the power of the medallion soaring from her with radiant energy. "We will break the chains that bind us." The shadows writhed violently, angered by the unity, but Maria felt the tide turning. The crowd was rallying, enthralled by the spectacle of light and dark colliding, chanting her name, a name that now echoed with strength rather than pain. "Push them back. Show them we're not afraid," their voices shouted. It felt like a thunderstorm of emotions crashing together: the history of all who suffered under shadows, and the voice of a new generation unwilling to be silenced. The voices surged in harmony, and Maria realized it wasn't just her unleashing the light. It was everyone around her. It all culminated into a beautiful crescendo of sound and light. The cloaked figures, dark and twisted, lost their power, fractured under the searing brilliance of hope and unity. With one final surge, Maria focused on the woman on the ground, bridging the gap between life and despair. And just like that, the shadows lifted, retreating like mist against the dawn. The woman on the ground inhaled deeply, a gasp of life that sparked a chain reaction. The medics, sensing the shift, rallied with renewed determination, following Maria's lead. They worked together, pulling the woman back from the brink of darkness. Tears blurred Maria's vision as she watched the woman's eyes flutter open, life returning as the crowd exploded into cheer, their uproar a melody of victory. David wrapped his arms around Maria, lifting her off her feet as they celebrated together. Together they had conquered not just the shadows, but the legacy that haunted their family. The medallion still pulsated with warmth against Maria's skin, a reminder of the journey they had sparked. As the chaos faded, the billionaires looked on, their masks of indifference shattered, their eyes wide with disbelief. The Kinder billionaire stepped forward, vulnerability etched on his face. "We have much to discuss," he murmured, glancing at Maria, who felt both weak and invincible with her family by her side. Maria understood that this was just the beginning. The night had transformed them, revealing the strength in unity and compassion. They could change the world one light at a time. "Let us go home," she whispered, feeling the warmth of hope infuse her heart. They turned away from the mansion, from the shadows that remained, stepping together into a new dawn that promised better days. Remember folks, this is just one story among many, and you don't want to miss what's next. So right now you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to stay updated on our exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. And I want to see you flood the comments section with your reactions, theories, and thoughts about this epic conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who would love to join this journey with us. Your support makes a difference. Let us keep the light shining bright.